DeepSeek just released their flagship non-thinking model DeepSeek V3, codename 0324. It's said to have better front-end development skills and smarter tool use. We'll test both skills against Claude 3.7 Sonnet. The API price remains at the same cheap price, and it's now also licensed under the MIT license, just like R1. It has open weights, so anyone with enough compute can run it locally, though it's not practical at 685 billion parameters. It performs very well on all benchmarks, especially on Live Code Bench and AIME mathematics. The API pricing remains at 27 cents per million input tokens and $1.10 for a million output tokens. That's for peak time. Off-peak it's half the price, which is just amazing. Although I should mention that the inference speed is still relatively low, so you'd need to use OpenRouter, Fireworks, or another faster provider. Claude 3.7 Sonnet, on the other hand, costs an expensive $3 for a million input tokens and $15 for a million output tokens. You start to feel the costs when you work on a large codebase, even with prompt caching. On the Aider Polyglot benchmark, which measures practical coding, we have thinking models on the top 3, then the non-thinking Claude 3.7 Sonnet in 4th. O3 Mini, R1, then DeepSeek V3 in 7th overall, and 2nd in non-thinking models. Its price-to-performance ratio is unparalleled. The first work item we'll use to compare DeepSeek with Claude is from a 250,000 token codebase. It's an app which allows people to research and predict football match results using AI. The bug is that it shows fixtures, but doesn't show the form of each team. The API call to retrieve each team's form is successful, but the front end doesn't show the data for some reason. As a human developer, I'd add logs to first inspect if the data gets to the component. After seeing that the data is undefined and doesn't get to the component, I'd inspect which props are sent to the component. Some of you asked in the comments section that I measure how long a human would take to complete these tasks and compare it to the AI tools, and I listened. So after checking the React component's prop name, I'd go to the parent component to check where the data originates from. The ViewMatch component also gets the data as a prop, so I'd trace its source as well. Finally, in the MatchList component, I can see where the API calls are made to retrieve the form of teams. The code makes multiple concurrent calls with pagination. Then the data is consolidated, which brings me to the actual problem. The variable for the consolidated data is grayed out, which means it's not used anywhere. I'd then augment the history data to each match I find. It looks inefficient if the find doesn't short-circuit, but luckily we're not programming a chess engine. If we look at the console logs again, we'd see that the component now receives the data through the prop, and that the history button appears and shows a drawer with the right data. I'd say it took around 5 human minutes to find the problem and solve it. This human minute versus AI minute comparison is very important to measure our progress as humans. Let's see how DeepSeek does. Let's start Aider and check the token usage of our codebase. The representation of a codebase is called a repository map in Aider or in TreeSitter, which Aider uses. In a larger codebase, you'll see the limitations of a language model's 64,000 token context window. Let's add all the required code files because we analyzed the problem. Then check the token usage to make sure we're still cool. Always make prompts simple and avoid complex wording. Let's save the working context into a file if we want to use it in another session. We include a consolidated AI rules file, which does include a memory bank prompt similar to the one for Klein. Let's paste the prompt and let DeepSeek do its thing. As expected with DeepSeek, the time to first token is taking some time as the context gets bigger. The generation is also quite slow. So it's now done, let's check it out. I don't see any buttons to view a team's form, nor any logs indicating a change. If we look at its code changes, we see that they are minimal and don't address the issue. Let's tell it that we still don't see the button to view the history of a match. It's now done, but ran into an error. Let's give it the error so it can fix it. It's done, and it fixed the error. If we scroll down, we see that the required buttons are there, but it doesn't display the actual data, only a backdrop. It's taking more than 70% of the estimated human minutes, so it's a fail. Let's create a clean Git branch for Claude 3.7 Sonnet. Let's give it the prompt and files and let it work. It's also struggling with speed, which is surprising. It's done, and if we test it, we see that it also didn't add the buttons for the history of a match. Let's give it the exact same follow-up prompt we gave to DeepSeek. That's a lot of code, and if we test it, we see a View Form button. If we click the button, we see the exact data we required for each team. It also added a color-coded form below each team, which is great. It didn't add a UI component for matches without history in the database, but that's a minor.